Hi, I'm Teja Gerken with Peghead Nation, and I'm here with a very cool Santa Cruz DBB Baritone guitar. Santa Cruz has been building baritones for many years, and the model goes back to a collaboration with the late fingerstyle guitarist Bob Brosman. And Bob had a guitar made that was a custom guitar originally with a 12-fret dreadnought body and a 27-inch scale to be used for low tunings. And that model eventually turned into a standard model for Santa Cruz. And when it first came out, it was one of the first stock available baritone guitars on the market, and the model has continued to be quite successful for Santa Cruz. You may have seen me play a couple of these guitars a while ago when I was demoing the Santa Cruz Baritone strings, which are part of their parabolic line of strings. And for that video I borrowed a pair of these. One that was quite similar to this was Indian rosewood and spruce, but had a solid peg head. The other one was with koa back and sides, and those were lovely guitars, but I didn't get a chance to do a full demo on the guitars themselves. I used them to demo the strings, which, by the way, are also on this guitar. It's always fun to get one of these Santa Cruz baritones in my hands, and I've had a few days to play with this. Of course, for those viewers who are not familiar with baritone guitars, I already mentioned the longer scale. So baritone guitars typically have a longer scale than a standard guitar, use thicker strings, and are tuned much lower than a standard guitar. Santa Cruz tends to tune their C to C, which is what this is tuned to. So we have a low C here and a high C. Otherwise, it's in standard tuning. So what otherwise would be an E chord, what looks like an E chord, is now a C chord. A lot of people, including myself, tune baritones down to B, so even a half step lower than this. And maybe at the end of this video, I'll tune this down a little bit so you can hear what it sounds like, tuned B to B. But more about this guitar. So Santa Cruz uses their 12-fret dreadnought body for the baritone design, always has, combined with a 27-inch scale. And the 27-inch scale is sort of on the shorter spectrum for a baritone, and that means that the guitar doesn't feel all that much different from a standard guitar. Your stretches and chords and everything really aren't that much further than they would be on a standard guitar. And some baritone guitars, they can go up to about a 30-inch scale, and then you really have something to work with. These are really quite effortless to play, and of course Santa Cruz sets these up quite nicely. This guitar I mentioned has the Santa Cruz baritone strings on them. In this case, the mid-tension version of those. And one thing that's unusual about those is that they have a wound second string, which might feel a little bit different at first, but it really makes sense because the second string on a baritone otherwise gets so fat that intonation can sometimes be an issue. So making it a wound string is a good idea on this, and that's how this guitar is set up as well. So you just get this really big piano-like sound on these guitars, whether you play fingerstyle or play with a pick. So it's got the 27-inch scale. Santa Cruz uses a slotted peg head with Waverly tuners. And I've always thought that the 12-fret design really makes sense with a baritone. It means you don't have to reach out quite so much with your fretting hand. And you get a baritone because you want to play low, not because you want to play high. So it makes sense to focus on that, and you can still get all the way up to the octave with these, of course. I mentioned this guitar is built with Indian rosewood back and sides. Very, very nice looking Indian rosewood on this. Beautiful spruce top, very evenly grained, fairly tight grained, and ebony bridge and fingerboard, as is standard with most Santa Cruz guitars. It has the slightly back-angled saddle that Santa Cruz guitar has been using for many years, which again allows for the intonation to stay correct as you're adjusting the saddle height. That's a very cool feature that a lot of people aren't aware of that Santa Cruz is doing, and I think it's a very good idea. Ivoroid binding on the guitar, both on the body and the fingerboard. Herringbone, beautiful herringbone rosette and herringbone purfling. and diamonds and squares fingerboard inlays. And again, these are the standard appointments for the baritone model. Other options are, of course, available. So a lot of people use baritone guitars for playing fingerstyle or sort of accompaniment roles. A lot of people also find that they really work well to accompany their voices, depending on what key they're comfortable in singing with. And again, you have that really big piano-like sound, even with just big open chords like this. So just super rich and fat, and it's really impossible to get that kind of a tonality without tuning low like this. And if you tune low with a standard scale guitar and standard strings, things are going to get pretty floppy. So the baritone is the way to accomplish that. And I should also mention that the guitar has a 1 7/8 inch nut width, and you might think, oh, that feels kind of wide. I'm used to maybe 1 3/4. And I have found that with a baritone guitar, it is important to have a slightly wider neck because of the thickness of the strings. I've played baritones that were 1 3/4 at the nut, and I always felt a little too cramped with the string spacing that way, because even though the width is the same, the actual space between the strings is less because the strings are so much fatter. So I think 1 7/8 is a great width to have on a baritone guitar. A lot of people use baritone guitars to play in alternate tunings, and so I think I'll go out and play a little bit in the dadgat equivalent of baritone tuning, which, given how I'm now in B2B, would drop my low string down to A, my high string down to A, now I'm in what would be dadgat in baritone tuning with the low A. So I'll go out playing a little bit in this. I definitely encourage you to check these guitars out if you're curious about baritone guitars. Santa Cruz, of course, builds fantastic instruments. I didn't even talk about the craftsmanship of this guitar, and of course it really goes without saying that it's at the absolute highest level. Super clean construction, super clean fit and finish. Just everything is completely superb, as we've come to expect from what Santa Cruz typically delivers. If you're seeing this on YouTube, please come check us out at pegheadnation.com, not only for our gear demos, but also for all our lessons, 65 plus different courses, not only for guitars, but also many other fretted and stringed instruments. So definitely check us out for that, and I hope to see you very soon. And my name is Teja Gerken.